Did you know that in Europe there's a country with 3 heads of state at the same time? Yes, really. I haven't gone crazy 3 presidents simultaneously. And no, this isn't a political sitcom or anything like that. We're talking about one of the strangest systems of government you could ever imagine. Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's one of the oddest states in Europe and living proof that the Balkans are still a real powder keg. The 3 presidents aren't some political experiment or whim. It's literally a matter of national survival. And what I'm about to tell you is the key to understanding why Bosnia works, or rather, why it hasn't exploded yet. Bosnia and Herzegovina was built on a boiling mix of ethnic and religious groups who, not so long ago, barely 3 decades, were literally killing each other. The war from 1992 to 1995 left behind around 100,000 dead, and the fuse it lit is still smoldering today. In fact, the country is overseen by an international high representative appointed by more than 50 countries. This high representative has the power to impose laws, annul those that go against the peace agreements, and even fire officials with the stroke of a pen. In practice, decades after the war, Bosnia is still a sort of international protectorate. Everything is so fragile that just a single spark could make the whole thing go up in flames. And that spark, friends, has just happened. Bosnia and Herzegovina is now in crisis. As the Bosnian Serb president openly pushes for secession, the Bosnian Serb president, what on earth is going on? To understand, we need to look at one man. The reason Bosnia is back on edge today, I'm talking about Milorad Dodik. You've probably never heard his name or seen his face before, and that's normal. What? He isn't the president of a country, though his power is practically the same. Dodik is the president of Republika Srpska, one of the 2 halves into which Bosnia was divided after the 1995 Dayton Accords. The deal created 2 entities within Bosnia almost independent from one another. On one side, the Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina, where most Bosniaks and a Croat minority live. On the other, Republika Srpska, which covers nearly half the country and is home to ethnic Serbs. So in practice, Dodik acts almost like the president of an unrecognized but very real, fully functional state. Fascinating, right? Bosnia is without a doubt one of the strangest countries in the world. The problem is that Dodik has spent years fueling secessionist rhetoric and challenging the Dayton peace deal. That's why we're seeing headlines like, Bosnia's electoral authorities strip Bosnian Serb leader Milorad Dodik of the presidency after a court ruling. Bosnia's High Court upholds a 1-year prison sentence for Serb leader Dodik. On August 6th, Bosnia's electoral authorities decided to remove Dodik from office, just days before the Court of Appeals confirmed his prison sentence. But Dodik is no ordinary regional governor. He controls nearly half the country and feels has the legitimacy to decide whether his territory should remain part of Bosnia at all. The turning point came in July 2021 when Valentin Inzko, the previous international high representative, imposed a law banning denial of the Srebrenica genocide, a massacre carried out by Bosnian Serb troops in 1995, in which over 8,000 people were killed. Bosnia's Serb leaders immediately responded with a boycott of the country's main institutions. Dodik escalated further 3 months later by announcing that Republika Srpska would withdraw from the national army and key judicial and prosecutorial bodies. The war in Ukraine temporarily slowed his plans, but since regaining the presidency of Republika Srpska in November 2022, Dodik has doubled down. He now openly talks about joining his territory to Serbia. To push that agenda, he's been stoking ethnic tensions, again the last thing Bosnia needs. Why? Some say it's pure ego and hunger for power. Others suspect something deeper and more troubling. After all, Vladimir Putin has openly backed Dodik, praising him while Dodik calls Putin an exemplary leader and close ally. Dodik refuses to support sanctions on Russia, echoes Kremlin talking points about NATO and Ukraine, and insists on stronger economic ties with Moscow, including buying Gazprom gas despite EU sanctions. Among Bosnian Serb nationalists, this makes him hugely popular, since Russia is seen as both protector and counterbalance to Western influence. But now, Dodik has been stripped of power. Officially, he's wanted across Bosnia. In practice, he's shielded by the police of Republika Srpska, his personal stronghold. He has even warned that if he's arrested, Republika Srpska will respond with violence, a terrifying prospect in a country where 100,000 people were killed just 3 decades ago. And there's more. Dodik has also been pushing laws to expel state institutions from his territory, criminalizing their presence. He's passed legislation modeled on Russia's foreign agents law to crack down on NGOs and journalists, and he's seeking constitutional changes to create his own army, border police, and judiciary. The goal is clear: detach Republika Srpska from Bosnia completely. At the same time, he's locked in a personal battle with Christian Schmidt, the German High Representative. Schmidt has reactivated the powers of the office, adding a legal clause that makes disobedience a crime. This has put Dodik directly in the crosshairs, fueling his full-blown war against Bosnia's institutions. But Dodik doesn't stand alone. Serbia officially distances itself but quietly supports him, investing heavily in Republika Srpska. Russia, of course, is a key backer. Surprisingly, Hungary under Viktor has become one of Dodik's strongest allies within the EU, providing hundreds of millions of euros in funding. Voting against recognizing the Srebrenica genocide and even sending Hungarian special police to Republika Srpska without Bosnia's consent. All of this makes Bosnia an extremely volatile powder keg. The most explosive flashpoint is the small Briko district, territory of about 80,000 people that splits Republika Srpska in two. If Dodik ever declares independence, controlling Briko would be essential. Its special status under the Dayton Accords makes it a potential trigger for renewed war. Conflict here wouldn't stay local. Bosnian Serbs could count on Serbia, and Russia might see an opportunity to destabilize Europe further once the Ukraine war winds down. Bosnian Muslims could turn to Turkey, while Croats would look to Croatia and, thus, the EU for support. The risk of escalation into a wider Balkan war is real. Europe has started to respond sanctions against Dodik, and reinforcement of the EUFOR peacekeeping mission with an additional 400 soldiers. But compared to the 60,000 NATO troops deployed in 1995, the current force of just over 1,000 may be far too small if things spiral out of control. Many argue the EU should dramatically increase troop numbers, empower the High Representative further, and secure Briko district to lock down the flashpoint before it ignites. So here we are, a divided country with 3 rotating presidents, a leader refusing to step down despite a prison sentence, ethnic tensions rising and outside powers meddling. Bosnia is on the edge once again. The question now is, will Republika Srpska declare independence? Could this really spark a new war in Europe? And what should Europe and the US do to prevent history from repeating itself in the Balkans?